Thank you very much. Thanks IPS and Saman for this wonderful opportunity which exposed me to a tremendous amount of learning for all the 3 days. In 1983, I wrote a book called SARC with one A because association had not been formed. 2 years later, when association was formed, they handed us over a depoliticized regional organization because they took the politics out of it. I think this gave a tremendous opportunity to the economists to hijack the regional agenda. And done for good, I think. They have created a phenomenal knowledge base, opened up huge options and areas of cooperation, and still, in all such gatherings, we sit down and get frustrated that regional organization or regional integration or regional cooperation is not moving forward. As they say, the problem is stupid lies in politics. So if you don't control politics, if you don't manage politics, you will not be able to manage economics. Marx stands upside down in South Asia. And for natural reasons. Yesterday, Gaur Bhai told us the synergies in South Asia, the contiguities in South Asia. And it was the politics which erected barriers and boundaries on that. And if you have to remove those barriers and boundaries, you have to grapple with politics. In order to grapple with politics, I think there are 2 levels that we have to address this issue. One is of regional relations, and second of domestic politics. At the regional relations, ours is a very complex region, Indo-centric, highly imbalanced. I remember one of the brightest of Indian bureaucrats, I consider, Mr. late P.N. Huxer, used to say that in South Asia, India and its neighbors are lodged into each other's intestines. Whether we like it or not, we are going to influence others, stimulate others, have a spillover, which others will have to cope with. And I'm sure there is much to blame India for the regional irritations. Its bilateralism, its reluctant leadership of the regional movement, its Marwari psyche, where it expects reciprocity for anything which is being done by it. And of course, on the top of it, its arrogance and insensitivity. But the good news is that this is changing. And this is changing for almost last more than a decade. And it is changing for good. Because there is an acute realization in India that you cannot move forward, even on your own aspirations, unless you take your neighbors along. There is, of course, much still needed for India to do in this respect. But then the second aspect is, how about the neighbors? They had an equal dilemma of dealing with huge elephant in their neighborhood, on which was oversized, hugely resourceful. They had to depend upon them. And to my mind, they approached in 2 ways. The denial mode and counterbalancing. The denial mode hurt India, is hurting India, but at the same time, it is also hurting the neighbors. The counterbalancing brought in extra regional powers into the region. Unfortunately, it divided and deepened the cleavages within the region. US was used earlier. China will be used now. There would be no problem so far as China's economic engagement with the region is concerned. After all, we keep hearing that India is upset on that. No, India cannot be upset because India itself is economically engaging with China in a very serious way. The problem arises when China card is fleshed strategically and politically. And that's not going to do good to the region as a whole, even if it doesn't do good to India. For example, scrutinize China's engagement with Southeast Asia, and you will see a whole lot of new things coming. Even the darling of the neighbors of China, Myanmar, is getting very, very uncomfortable these days. Therefore, there is a need to make room for bridging or bonding in the place of balancing. And if that can be done, I think the spectrum and the dynamics would change. When it comes to domestic politics, I think stability and order are absolutely essential. Because if there are problems at home, the leadership would not have a quality time to devote to the regional issues of cooperation or integration. Any kind of turbulence, like the constitutional and electoral chaos at the moment in Nepal and Maldives, or the extremist movements in India and other countries on the religious, ethnic, and ideological basis, they are hurting a lot of attention and interest of the leadership to deal with the regional issues, find solutions to them, resolve them, establish and consolidate an inclusive democracy. Would not go into details because we have, in the last 3 days, we have continuously been referring to the strengthening of democracies, which is not simply an electoral process. Democracies are slow to take decisions, but they do take sustainable decisions. They build grassroots pressures for growth and development, for distributive justice, and therefore facilitates and reinforces the regional integration process. Now, democratic polities will have to be development-oriented. They can be very destructively nationalism-oriented, chauvinism-oriented, sectarian identity-oriented. So we'll have to take a lot of care about it. Therefore, my submission to you is, gentlemen and ladies, that fix politics if we really want to fix our economics. It is time to politicize SAARC, bring in the questions of bilateral relations, controversial relations back on the table. The leadership at that time did not have a courage to face them. That's why they were kept out. I think it last so many years of experience since '85 must now have made them a bit mature to tackle them. And one last suggestion, change the name of South Asian Economic Summit. Make it South Asian Integration Summit, or make it South Asian Engagement Summit, and bring in the political agenda in your sessions. Thank you very much.